Cassandra Peterson rose to fame for her hostess role of Elvira. Her real life was every bit as terrifying and fascinating as her films. In Elvira's tell-all memoir, she revealed that she'd been keeping a jaw-dropping secret for decades, one that changed everything we knew about the icon. But we'll get to that later. Cassandra Peterson was born in sunny Manhattan, Kansas on September 17, 1951. However, after the town was submerged under the Turtle Creek Reservoir, Peterson and her family moved to Colorado Springs. As a toddler, Peterson was scalded by boiling water, causing severe burns. It took skin grafts covering more than 35% of her body and 3 long months in the hospital to heal. While most little girls played with Barbie dolls, Peterson had other interests. Growing up, she gravitated towards horror-themed toys. In an interview decades later, Peterson recalled the experience of watching her first horror film, House on Haunted Hill. "I was both repelled and fascinated," she explained, "and I remember coming home and having terrible nightmares." For most kids, Halloween only comes once a year. But for Cassandra Peterson, Halloween was every day. Her mother ran a costume business, so whenever Peterson wanted to dress up, she got exactly what she wanted. She even wore the costumes to school, displaying an early flair for fashion and drama. In her teenage years, she worked as a go-go dancer in Colorado Springs. Not just any dancer, though. She performed at a drag queen bar, and even entertained soldiers with her seductive dance moves at Fort Carson. Film always had a big impact on Peterson's life. So, after watching Anne Margaret's performance in Viva Las Vegas, she convinced her parents to let her see a live show in Sin City. But as she was watching the show, the production staff were watching her, and offered her a contract to work for them. There was just one problem. She was only 17. Cassandra Peterson was so eager to get her showbiz start that she managed to convince her parents to let her sign the contract. Then, right after high school, Peterson raced back to Las Vegas. While performing on stage, Peterson caught the attention of a special audience member, Elvis Presley. The king of rock and roll was so enthralled with Peterson that he insisted on meeting her and took her out on a date. As a self-admitted groupie, Peterson described the experience of dating Presley as a dream come true. Presley gave her some unforgettable advice. "You don't want to stay here," Presley crooned to her. "This is not a town you should be in. He is 100% responsible for getting me out of Vegas and going on with my career," Peterson later explained. Cassandra Peterson took Presley's advice and bolted out of Las Vegas. But she might have run too far. Peterson landed in Italy in the early 1970s and took on an unexpected role as a lead singer for a few Italian rock bands. In her 2021 memoirs, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark, Peterson claimed to have liaisons with 2 more Hollywood heavyweights, Jon Voight and Robert De Niro. She alleged that her fling with De Niro occurred during the filming of The Godfather Part 2. After her time in Italy, Cassandra Peterson returned to the US with dreams of making movie magic. But then things took an unexpected turn. First, she became a showgirl at the Playboy Club in Miami. Some successful appearances saw her sign up with Hugh Hefner's Playboy modeling agency, and she toured nightclubs around the world with her musical comedy act, Mama's Boys. In her 2021 memoir, Cassandra Peterson confessed to one of her biggest regrets. Against her better judgment, she agreed to pose totally sans clothing for a test shoot for Penthouse magazine. The photographers, a husband and wife team, promised the up-and-coming showgirl that the decidedly racy photos would never see the light of day. In 1981, just as her fame was taking off, the pictures reappeared, splashed across the pages of sleazy men's magazines. To her dismay, there wasn't much she could do about it, except embrace it. Peterson's film career got off to a slow but very promising start. She played a showgirl in the 1971 James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. Then, a few years later, she took on a slightly racier role as a shirtless dancer in the film The Working Girls, where she played a character named Katya. By 1979, Cassandra Peterson's small film roles began paying off. She auditioned for the role of Ginger Grant in a Gilligan's Island TV movie and was ready to make a big debut. However, just days before filming, she got a heartbreaking surprise. Production had dropped her from the role. Luckily, she had support from a family of improv actors called the Groundlings. That's how she developed the character that would make her famous. In 1981, the Los Angeles horror show Friday Night was looking for a new host, 6 years after the passing of its previous star, Larry Vincent. For Peterson, the tragedy spelled opportunity. The producers wanted to bring the horror show back in a fresh, new way, and began their search for a horror hostess. Originally, the Fright Night producers wanted to revive a classic, The Vampira Show, with its iconic host, Mila Nurmi. Nurmi briefly joined the project but quit when they refused to cast her chosen successor, Lola Falana. With Nurmi out, the producers sent out a casting call for a new horror host. Not only did Peterson land the role of hostess for the Fright Night revival, but the producers loved her so much that they gave her free reign. Together with her best friend, Robert Redding, she created an unforgettable character that was equal parts flirtatious and frightening, named Elvira. Right before the show's first taping and Peterson's big break, Mila Nurmi sent a cease and desist order to the production team, and the blame fell on one person, Elvira. Nurmi claimed that Peterson's new persona was too similar to her Vampira character. It wasn't just Elvira's gothic look. Peterson's iconic sign-off to her fans, Unpleasant Dreams, sounded eerily similar to Vampira's closing line, Bad dreams, darlings. Peterson, however, maintained that her camp vamp character was entirely her creation. Despite the similarities between Peterson's Elvira and Nurmi's Vampira, the courts eventually sided with Peterson. They ruled that likeness pertains to actual representation of another person's appearance, and not simply a close resemblance. Thanks to her quick wit, campy humor, and undeniable appeal, Peterson's Elvira quickly became a late-night movie sensation. Her cult following exploded, and soon, she wasn't just a TV hostess, she was a brand. Her name and likeness became attached to a dizzying array of products, from Halloween costumes to comic books, dolls, perfume, and even pinball machines. 1981 turned out to be Peterson's biggest year yet. Not only did she debut Elvira to the world, but she tied the knot with musician Mark Pearson, who quickly took on the role of her personal manager. On October 12, 1994, they gave birth to their only daughter, Sadie. But Peterson still had more than enough time for the goth camp classic, Elvira. Peterson's fame reached its peak with the 1988 film Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. In the film, she added another key component to her iconic character, the macabre mobile. The production team purchased the 1958 T-Bird hardtop for just $2,500, but then splashed another $7,000 on the car in modifications. Elvira's macabre mobile sparkled on the film set, and Peterson even took it out on personal appearances. But it wasn't as glamorous as it looked. Peterson had a love-hate relationship with the villainous vehicle, often complaining that it rarely worked. Peterson kept much of the paraphernalia from her Elvira films and TV shows. But by December 2021, she was ready to part ways with many of her creepy keepsakes. At Julian's auction, she sold off the macabre mobile, as well as some of Elvira's wigs, costumes, robes, portraits, and much more, totaling tens of thousands of dollars. Peterson was one of the first to spot Brad Pitt's star power. In 1988, the unknown teen idol auditioned for Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Peterson loved his look a little too much. She thought he was too cute, noting that Elvira wouldn't realistically go for the lead character if Pitt was one of the boys vying for her attention. Peterson ultimately decided to pass on Pitt, but it wasn't because she didn't believe he had star power. Quite the opposite. In her casting notes, she simply wrote, "Yum yum," probably understanding that, in the years to come, Pitt would have fans of his own. Funny enough, their paths crossed again when Pitt bought her Gothic-styled mansion. During casting for The Elvira Show in 1993, Peterson once again let a future star shoot right past her. This time, the choice for actresses to portray Elvira's niece came down to Phoebe Augustine or an unknown young actress named Hilary Swank. Peterson ultimately awarded the role to Augustine, but years later she would cross paths with Swank again. Years passed, but Peterson never forgot about Hilary Swank's audition. Then, a chance encounter led to a funny incident. Peterson ran into Swank at a gym and, clueless of Swank's subsequent rise to fame, said, "You were so talented. I hope you're still in show business." Swank, trying to remain modest, replied, "Well, I just won an Academy Award." Cassandra Peterson filmed a pilot of The Elvira Show, but no studio picked it up. A few years later, however, a suspiciously similar show emerged, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Peterson claimed that the network executives loved her idea, but preferred to focus on a younger character. After years of trying to make a sequel to Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Peterson and her then-husband Mark Pearson decided to take matters into their own hands. In November 2000, she wrote and co-produced Elvira's Haunted Hills. Elvira's Haunted Hills took Peterson to one of the most haunted places on Earth, Transylvania. With a tight budget, Peterson's Romanian brother-in-law convinced her to shoot the film in Romania. Not only did it save money, but it also added an extra layer of authenticity to the spooky atmosphere. No hostess of horror could be complete without one essential, a black cat. When the eerie entertainer requested a stuffed black cat for a gag in which he accidentally backs over a cat's tail, the language barrier posed a huge problem. The Romanian crew ended up bringing her a stuffed kangaroo instead. Peterson pulled off a little magic and resolved to dye the kangaroo black. Even if she pretended to accidentally run over black cats on film, Peterson could never harm a hair on an animal's head. For many years, Peterson was a strict vegetarian and revealed in her memoirs that she still maintains a mostly vegetarian lifestyle. Cassandra Peterson screened her self-produced Elvira's Haunted Hills at AIDS charity fundraisers across the US. It was a resounding success, introducing countless Elvira fans to the woman beneath the sky-high black wig. Eventually, the film officially premiered in Hollywood on July 5, 2002, where Elvira herself made an entrance in her macabre mobile. After her first Elvira film, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark in 1988, the character's popularity jumped, only to wane soon afterward. In 1993, she attempted to expand the Elvira universe with a sitcom pilot called The Elvira Show. The series was supposed to be a continuation of her 1988 film, but the network didn't pick it up, and the show never saw the light of day. On September 21, 2021, Peterson released her long-awaited memoir, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark. The tell-all gave fans an intimate look at her life, from her childhood to her rise as the horror icon Elvira, complete with juicy details about her relationships, career, and personal struggles. One of the biggest surprises in Peterson's memoir was the revelation of her nearly 2-decade relationship. Following Peterson's divorce from her husband in 2002, Peterson began dating a woman named Teresa T. Weirson. The news shocked many, as she had kept the relationship under wraps for years. In her memoir, Peterson also recounted a disturbing incident from the 1970s involving basketball star Wilt Chamberlain. She alleged that Chamberlain had forced himself on her during a party at his Bel Air mansion. Peterson wasn't finished terrifying and entertaining audiences with Elvira. As of September 2018, Peterson was working on developing a direct sequel to her 1988 film Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. In addition to a sequel, she's also been cooking up plans for an animated Elvira project. And it's clear how she sees her legacy going forward. How do I want to be remembered, she asked? I'd ideally love for Elvira to remain a Halloween icon, but as Cassandra, I'd like to be remembered as someone who had time to be a good mother. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, we'd really appreciate it. We also invite you to check out the companion article in the description below. If you want to see even more videos on historical figures, please subscribe to the channel.